It was a crisp autumn morning when Sofia Alvarez, the nanny, quietly polished the silverware in the grand dining hall. She had only been working in the mansion for 3 months, but already she knew that today was different. Outside, the roar of engines echoed through the courtyard. 5 luxury cars rolled up the driveway one after another, their tinted windows hiding the passengers inside. Upstairs, billionaire Eduardo Castillo leaned against the balcony railing with his 9-year-old daughter, Camila, by his side. His tone was firm, though his eyes betrayed hesitation. "Camila, remember what I told you? The women we spoke about, they've arrived. They'll be staying here for 30 days. Camila's small face tightened. "And at the end, I have to choose one of them to be my new mother, right?" Eduardo nodded. "Yes, Princessa. They're women from good families, well-educated, influential. I'm sure you'll like them." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "But what if I don't?" Eduardo placed a hand on her shoulder. "You will. They can give you everything you need, opportunities, culture, a future." But before he could say more, a sudden crash echoed from below. The sound of glass shattering rang through the mansion, followed by a startled gasp. Downstairs, Sophia was on her knees, frantically gathering shards of crystal from the marble floor. Her finger bled where a sharp edge had cut her skin. She muttered softly, "I'm sorry it slipped." Just then, the front doors swung open and the first of the glamorous women entered. Tall, elegant, her perfume filling the air, she crossed her arms and glared. "Do you even realize what you've done?" Her voice dripped with disdain. "That goblet cost more than your entire salary for the year." Sophia kept her head low, too embarrassed to answer. Her hands trembled as she tried to pick up the last piece of glass. From upstairs, Camila tugged her father's sleeve. "Papa, she's hurt." Eduardo's brow furrowed. "Let's go." They hurried downstairs, only to find Sophia still crouched, blood staining the cloth she held. Camila rushed forward. "Sophie, are you okay?" For the first time that morning, Sophia looked up. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, but she forced a gentle smile. "It's nothing, mi amor. Just a scratch." Behind her, the other women were now stepping out of their cars, sizing each other up like rivals on a stage. One of them, a blonde in designer heels, smirked and whispered loudly, "Accidents happen when people don't belong in places like this." The atmosphere grew tense. Camila clenched her tiny fists, moving closer to Sophia's side, as if declaring whose company she truly preferred. Eduardo noticed the subtle bond between his daughter and the nanny, and a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. He had promised himself that wealth and pedigree were what mattered most. But in that fragile moment, watching his daughter protect the very woman everyone else dismissed, he wasn't so sure anymore. By noon, the 5 women had settled in like queens arriving at their palaces. Each one strutted through the corridors of the Castillo mansion as though it already belonged to her. They introduced themselves in sharp, calculated tones, as if reciting rehearsed resumes. "I'm Helena Duarte," the brunette announced proudly, her diamond earrings catching the sunlight. "My family owns half of the vineyards in Mendoza. I studied international business in London." "Camila Montenegro," said the blonde with a flawless smile. "I'm a model, an influencer. I've lived in Paris, Milan. Fashion is my world." The others followed, a lawyer, a surgeon, an architect. Each one emphasized wealth, prestige, influence. Not one of them so much as glanced at Sophia, who stood quietly in the corner with a blood-stained cloth wrapped around her finger. To them, she was invisible, an accessory, no more important than the vases or chandeliers. Eduardo forced a smile. "Ladies, thank you for being here. For the next 30 days, you'll spend time with us, with Camila. In the end, she will decide who fits into our family." That last sentence made Camila shift uncomfortably, but none of the women noticed. They were too busy exchanging smug glances. Later that afternoon, the 5 gathered on the veranda, strategizing as if it were a business deal. Helena waved her manicured hand. "Children need to be impressed. I brought a tablet, the newest model, filled with games." Camila Montenegro smirked. "Games are cheap distractions. I've arranged a vacation to Disneyland. Contacts in Orlando. She'll adore it." The lawyer adjusted her glasses, producing a folder. Education is vital. I researched the top international schools in Sao Paulo. That's real value. Health comes first, said the surgeon. I've scheduled a complete medical checkup for her. An environment, the architect added with a sly smile. I'll redesign her room. Children thrive in beautiful spaces. They clinked their wine glasses, satisfied with their grand gestures, convinced victory was near. But when Camila herself appeared at the doorway, they turned their practiced smiles toward her. Camila, querida. Helena's voice rose theatrically. Look what I have for you. She extended the sleek tablet. For a moment, the girl's eyes lit up. She took it, pressed a button, and nodded politely. Thank you. Camila Montenegro crouched down in her designer dress. Wouldn't you love to meet Mickey Mouse? The castle, the fireworks? We could leave tomorrow. Camila tilted her head. Maybe. Her tone was polite, but her excitement faded as quickly as it came. The others made their offers in turn: schools, doctors, bedroom designs. Eduardo watched, impressed by their enthusiasm. But his daughter's face told another story. Her responses were flat, automatic, the kind given out of courtesy rather than joy. Then Sophia entered, carrying a tray of juice and a plate of cookies. She didn't announce herself, didn't boast. She simply set the tray down gently and said, I thought you all might be thirsty. Camila's eyes instantly brightened. Sophie, did you make the cinnamon cookies? Sophia's cheeks flushed. Yes, Carino, just the way you like them. The girl clapped her hands, a genuine smile spreading across her face. And the origami paper? You promised. Sophia pulled out colorful sheets hidden under the tray. Every color you asked for: red, blue, yellow. Camila squealed with delight, hugging her tightly. Can we make the swan after homework? Of course, Sophia replied softly. Math first, then swans. The 5 women watched, their smiles frozen in place. Not one of their expensive offers had stirred half as much joy as a plate of cookies and a handful of folded paper. Helena raised a brow. Origami? Really? Wouldn't sports or music lessons be more appropriate for a young lady? But Camila only shrugged. I like origami. And she nestled closer to Sophia, who wiped the crumbs from her chin with gentle hands. For Eduardo, it was impossible not to notice. His daughter's laughter rang truer with Sophia than with anyone else. Still, he pushed the thought aside. Wealth, pedigree, prestige, that's what he had promised himself. Yet as he glanced at Sophia's tired but kind eyes, he wondered, could the heart of a child see something he was too blind to admit? The first week passed, and the tension in the mansion thickened like smoke. The 5 elegant women carried themselves like royalty, gliding through the marble halls as if they already owned them. But beneath their polished smiles, resentment brewed. Every time Camila laughed with Sophia, every time the girl chose to sit by the nanny instead of one of them, the women's jealousy sharpened into something poisonous. On Thursday morning, Sophia entered the living room, broom in hand. To her surprise, all 5 women were seated together, sipping coffee as though they'd been waiting for her. Good morning, Sophia greeted politely. Silence. Not one answered. Finally, Helena flicked her wrist, spilling sugar deliberately onto the pristine floor. Oh dear, what a mess. Could you clean that up? What's your name again? It's Sophia, the lawyer chimed in, feigning innocence. But you can't blame us for forgetting. After all, staff come and go. Sophia bent down, sweeping quietly. Before she could finish, Camila Montenegro accidentally knocked over a vase, soil spilling across the carpet. So clumsy of me, she said with a smirk. You'll have to redo it all. Sophia bit her lip, humiliated, but continued working. Just then, Camila Castillo skipped down the stairs. Sophie, why is there dirt on the floor? Before Sophia could reply, Helena spoke sweetly. Just a little accident, querida. She'll take care of it. Camila's brows furrowed. It wasn't an accident. I saw you do it on purpose. The room fell into awkward silence. Camila, the lawyer, crouched to her level, her voice dripping condescension. Sometimes children misinterpret things. Adults know better. But the girl didn't waver. No, you're being mean to her. All of you. Sophia's heart clenched. "Mia Moore," she whispered, "go have breakfast. I'll handle it." Yet the damage was done. The 5 women exchanged glances, their smiles cracking. The child's open defense had exposed them. That night, in a candlelit lounge, they gathered privately. Helena's voice was sharp as glass. "This cannot continue. That nanny is undermining us. She acts like she belongs here," Camila Montenegro sneered. "As if she were family." "Exactly," the lawyer agreed. "It's confusing the girl. She needs to know her place." The surgeon leaned forward. "Then we'll teach her." Subtle but firm. "A few lessons in hierarchy." The architect chuckled coldly. "Yes, by the time we're finished, she'll wish she'd never stepped into this house." What they didn't know was that Eduardo, restless in his study, had installed discreet cameras days earlier. He was already suspicious, already sensing a cruelty beneath their polished exteriors. As their whispered conspiracy unfolded in the parlor, tiny red lights blinked silently in the corners. Meanwhile, upstairs, Camila was curled up in bed, clutching an origami crane Sophia had helped her fold. "Sophie," she murmured sleepily, "if they make you leave, will you still think of me?" Sophia smoothed the child's hair tenderly. "Always, Mia Moore. No one can take you from my heart." The girl yawned, eyes fluttering shut. "Then I'll choose you, no matter what Papa says." Tears stung Sophia's eyes. She kissed Camila's forehead and whispered, "Sleep, princessa. Tomorrow will be better." But deep down, she feared it wouldn't. Her fears proved right. The following days became a war of silent sabotage. Helena hid cleaning supplies so Sophia would appear incompetent. The lawyer left documents scattered on the floor, blaming Sophia for carelessness. The surgeon dripped coffee onto pristine upholstery, demanding she scrub it immediately. Each time, Camila noticed. Each time, her loyalty grew. One afternoon, Eduardo returned from work and found his daughter in tears. "Papa," she sobbed, "they're horrible to Sophie. They spill things on purpose. They laugh at her. They say she doesn't belong." Eduardo frowned deeply. He had heard similar accusations from his staff before, but hearing it from his daughter cut differently. "Are you sure, princessa?" Camila's eyes blazed with certainty. "I swear it. And if they make me choose, I already know who I want." Eduardo held her close, troubled. He had brought the 5 women into his home to secure a future of class and prestige. But the truth was undeniable. His daughter had already made her choice, and it wasn't any of them. Far away in the lounge, the women clinked champagne glasses, convinced victory was near. But hidden cameras had captured every sneer, every cruel whisper, every deliberate sabotage. And Eduardo knew the day of reckoning was coming. By the second week, the Castillo mansion felt less like a home and more like a battlefield. Smiles masked daggers, and every hallway echoed with hidden rivalries. Sophia did her best to carry on with quiet dignity, but the weight of constant humiliation pressed harder each day. One morning, Eduardo sat alone in his study, reviewing footage from the discreet cameras he had installed. His jaw tightened as he watched Helena deliberately shove a bottle of detergent behind a cabinet. Minutes later, Sophia entered the laundry room, confused, searching for what she needed. Another clip showed Camila Montenegro tilting a cup of coffee, just enough to spill it onto the white sofa, then calling Sophia to clean it up while smirking at the others. In yet another, the lawyer whispered, "If she thinks she's family, let's remind her she's not." Eduardo leaned back in his chair, fury simmering beneath his calm exterior. He had lived among the wealthy his entire life. He knew arrogance. But what he saw in those recordings wasn't just arrogance. It was cruelty, calculated, deliberate cruelty toward someone who had done nothing but show kindness. Still, he needed more than private suspicions. He needed undeniable proof. Meanwhile, the 5 women were preparing their most vicious move yet. One evening, they gathered in the parlor, glasses of champagne glinting under the chandelier. "We've tried subtle," Helena declared. "Now we need to go further." "What do you suggest?" asked the surgeon, swirling her drink. Helena leaned forward. "We ruin her reputation. If Eduardo thinks she's dangerous for Camila, she'll be gone by morning." The lawyer's lips curled. "I know people at City Hall. We can have documents drafted, claims of theft, poor conduct, even mistreatment of children in past jobs. And I, Camila Montenegro added with a gleam in her eye, have friends in the press. A single rumor is enough. Imagine the headline. Nanny seduces billionaire, manipulates his daughter. She'll be finished. Laughter rippled through the group. They clinked glasses, blind to the small red light blinking quietly in the corner of the room. That night, Eduardo couldn't sleep. He walked past his daughter's room and paused. Through the cracked door, he saw Camila fast asleep, arms wrapped tightly around an origami swan. Beside her, Sophia sat silently in the chair, watching over her like a mother who'd loved her all her life. Something in Eduardo's chest shifted. For months, he had convinced himself that prestige was the answer. But here was the truth, plain as day. His daughter didn't need another socialite. She needed someone who loved her. The next day, the storm began. A man in a gray suit appeared at the gates of the mansion, holding a leather briefcase. He introduced himself as a private investigator. Mr. Castillo, I've been asked to bring you important information about your employee, Sofia Alvarez. Inside the study, the man laid out a series of documents, reports of theft, dismissal letters, accusations of negligence. Each one bore official-looking stamps and signatures. Eduardo examined them closely. At first glance, they seemed convincing. But as he flipped through, details didn't line up. Dates overlapped with the very month Sofia had been caring for Camila. Signatures were suspiciously identical. Even the stamps looked off. Tell me, Eduardo asked coldly, who paid you to create this? The man stammered, I don't know what you mean. Eduardo slammed the file shut. You think I'm a fool? These documents are forgeries, and I will find out who sent you. The investigator shifted nervously, but Eduardo's glare cut deeper than any threat. Leave. Now. When a man was gone, Eduardo turned back to the hidden camera feed. Hours later, he caught exactly what he needed. Helena on the phone in the garden, her voice sharp and clear. Yes, we need a full dossier. Make her look unfit for children, for work, for everything. I don't care how much it costs. Eduardo pressed pause. His anger boiled, but beneath it was something else, resolve. It was no longer just about choosing a wife. It was about protecting his daughter, about defending the one person who had shown them both genuine love. That evening, when Camila found him in the study, holding the origami swan she had made with Sofia, her eyes filled with worry. Papa, you're not going to send Sophie away, are you? He lifted her onto his lap, his heart heavy with the secret plan forming in his mind. No, Princessa, I promise you, Sophia isn't going anywhere. But sometimes, he said carefully, we have to let people believe they've won before we can show them the truth. Camila tilted her head. So, like a surprise? Eduardo kissed her forehead. Exactly. A surprise. One they'll never forget. From that moment, Eduardo's course was set. He would play along with the women's games, let them believe they were winning. And when the time came, he would reveal everything, the recordings, the forgeries, the lies. But until then, he had to endure the charade. And Sophia, poor Sophia, would have to endure it too. As the mansion lights dimmed that night, one thing was certain. The battle was far from over. But Eduardo was no longer just a spectator. He was ready to fight for his daughter, for justice, and perhaps for something he hadn't dared admit until now, for the woman who had already stolen his heart. The mansion was alive with chatter. Guests in elegant attire filled the grand hall, waiting eagerly to hear which of the 5 dazzling women Eduardo Castillo would choose as his bride. Cameras flashed, champagne sparkled, and the 5 candidates stood proudly at his side, convinced victory was theirs. Eduardo raised a hand for silence. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is not only a celebration, but a decision about the future of my family. The women leaned closer, smiles wide. But then, instead of announcing a name, Eduardo signaled to a screen behind him. A video began to play. Gasps rippled through the room. There was Helena on the phone, demanding fake documents. Camila Montenegro whispering lies to a journalist. The lawyer, the surgeon, the architect, each exposed, caught mocking Sophia, sabotaging her, plotting her destruction. The crowd erupted in outrage. Some guests shook their heads in disgust. Others raised their phones, recording everything. Eduardo's voice was firm, cutting through the chaos. For 30 days, these women pretended to care for my daughter. But while they brought gifts and promises, Sophia gave something they could not: honesty, patience, love. That is what truly matters. At that moment, Camila ran forward, clutching Sophia's hand. "Papa," she said, her voice clear and brave, "I don't want them. I want her. I want Sophie to be my mom." The hall fell into stunned silence. Eduardo's eyes softened. He stepped towards Sophia, taking her trembling hands in his. "My daughter has made her choice, and she is right. Sophia, you came into our lives with nothing to offer but your heart, and it turned out to be everything we needed. Will you stay with us? As family?" Sophia's eyes brimmed with tears. She glanced at Camila, then back at Eduardo. "Yes, with all my heart." The hall erupted in applause. Guests cheered, some even cried. The 5 women, red-faced and defeated, slipped out quietly, their reputation shattered. As father, daughter, and nanny embraced beneath the golden lights of the mansion, one truth echoed louder than wealth, louder than status. Love, real, unconditional love, was the greatest treasure of all.